Elanora, for the third time, listen to me. If we land the diver in Sector R12, we'll never, do you hear me? Never have financial issues again. Jinya, it's impossible. The magnetic fields are too unstable. There you go. Again with the UMF. I told you, we'll get help from our little brothers. I don't believe in fairy tales. Some say the new piloting technique works, but Victor from the Poseidon called it complete nonsense. You heard his landing attempt. Failed the other day. He brought in an incompetent specialist, can't you see? I told him who he should hire, but Victor has no clue why people give each other advice. I trust him. He's an experienced scout. Nick, listen. The young navigator leaned back in his chair, tired of arguing, and said more quietly, I know an excellent specialist with top marks in the new piloting program. I heard about her from her. Yes, a recent graduate from the Institute of Interspecies Interaction Studies. The university's rector is a relative of mine. He knows about our plans to land on the planet, so he called me last week and told me about Selena's accomplishments. Beautiful name, said the diver's captain and chief pilot, calling for the robotic waiter while studying the navigator carefully, waiting for more, and more was indeed needed. Debates were still raging after the recent breakthrough, the creation of the interspecies communication interface. The essence of the discovery was simple. Humans could now establish mental contact with other intelligent life forms. Naturally, pets were the first candidates. Cats and dogs responded better. They trusted humans and bonded easily. Wild animals were tougher, but even there, some success had been noted. Still, the new technique was far from perfect. Animals would often lose the connection or refuse to establish it at all. But then, a remarkably talented student at the institute showed stunning results during her final exams, demonstrating near-perfect communication with her own pet. And guess what, Nick? Jinya paused dramatically. Just a month ago, that same institute reported a unique ability in cats to navigate within unstable magnetic fields. So that's why all the treasure hunters are suddenly hanging around the interspecies faculty. Exactly that. Nothing else. Then why hasn't Selena flown anywhere yet? Nikita crossed his arms slowly. She doesn't want to risk her pet's health. I completely agree. Smart girl. The pilot decided the whole plan to fly to Elanora was probably dead in the water. I feel the same. No need to risk animals. But we'll propose a descent only into the upper atmospheric layers, where the UMF is barely noticeable. If she finds it too risky to go lower, we'll simply return to orbit. And you think she'll agree? For her, this could be the perfect test of the communication method. It's priceless data for her dissertation. Could even lead to new tools for navigating in tough environments. Plus, we'll offer her a cut of the profit if the landing's successful. What's with the hand wave? She won't go? Bet you. Let's at least ask. I've got a detailed atmospheric map of Elanora. The diver is in peak conditions, so? Nikita thought for a moment. All right, fine. But I'm betting a glass of kefir she turns you down with a sweet smile. You're on. The day was bright over the spaceport. Two young men sat on opposite sides of the diver's boarding ramp, watching cargo shuttles touch down. A woman appeared in the open doorway of one transport. That's her. Jinya jumped up, motioning for his friend to follow as he headed toward the visitor. That a moment later, the captain and navigator of the diver stood face to face with a slim, petite graduate of the institute. Her calm blue eyes studied the strangers carefully, but she didn't rush to speak. Hello, I'm Nikita, captain of the diver. The young man greeted her with a polite nod. Hello, I'm Selena, a specialist in interspecies communication. She replied with a smile, glancing at the other man. Yevgeny, navigator. Hello, he said quickly, adding, I was the one who called you last week. I figured. Vasily Afanasyevich told me about your idea to land on a new planet. There's almost no public data on Elanora, so I'm hoping you'll fill in the blanks, she said, flashing the captain a dazzling smile that immediately brightened Jinya's mood. The diver's command module was a functional but sparse space. Two pilot chairs were surrounded by control panels, a communications alcove with a narrow bench and monitors, and a small four-person table, usually covered in operating manuals. The navigator entered first, gathering up the papers and dropping them onto his seat. The captain followed, inviting Selena in. While she looked around, Jinya poured tea and sat across from her, beside his comrade. As you already know, Nikita began, my childhood friend and I, he's also the diver's navigator, plan to attempt a landing on Eleonora. There are a lot of rumors, but so far, no one succeeded. Not even automated probes can touch down. Not even approach the thick cloud layer to beam back images, added Jinya, watching Selena closely. Because of the unstable magnetic fields? Selena asked, pulling her cup closer. Yes, the captain paused. But the real problem is the structure of those fields. For reasons we don't yet understand, the atmosphere contains closed-loop zones that drift through space and confuse navigation systems. We call them bubbles, Jinya added, unrolling a map onto the table and securing it with mugs. Selena's slight smile told him he should elaborate. Some descents caused total electronic failure on board. Paper maps may look silly, but they're essential. We plan to descend here. Nikita pointed to a spot on the map. Near the South Pole, fewest bubbles, relatively stable. Once we enter the upper atmosphere, control of the diver will be transferred to the cat. Or do you have a female? A male. His name is Chernish. Share New York SHIK, she corrected him gently. All right, to Chernish IK. Nikita gave his friend a look. Jinya caught it, didn't skip a beat. The diver has a dedicated zero-stress chamber. Your pet won't feel launch or turbulence. One of the best neutral zones around. The dampeners can absorb 10G loads in any direction. Jinya's exaggerating. Nikita noted Selena's raised eyebrows. We'll fly smoothly, I promise. If your cat refuses contact or seems stressed, report immediately. We'll abort and return to orbit. What do you say? When do you plan to fly? In 2 days, the captain replied. Selena rose to her feet. I'll think it over and call you. For now, I must go. The slim, fair-haired graduate smiled sweetly and followed the captain to the exit point. 2 days had passed. The cafe near the spaceport buzzed with life. Soaked travelers found refuge at its cozy tables, the soft cosmic music weaving a calming background for any conversation. Beyond the glass walls, 10 meters above ground, the floating structure offered a majestic view of the interplanetary harbor, but the captain of the diver and his navigator were not enjoying the scene. Instead, they stared glumly at their refueled ship, standing in the open under the gray sky. Then, suddenly, Nikita brightened and called to the waiter. Excuse me, my friend. A glass of cold kefir, please. Jinya rolled his eyes but paid. The robot without comment. Nikita emptied the glass in one go, then smirked at his friend. You brought this on yourself. Why is that? And possible turbulence during descent. What animal lover would agree to that? I explained that turbulence was unlikely, Yevgeny muttered, turning toward the window in frustration. He glanced at his watch and stood up. It's time. The downpour had stopped. The two quickly inspected the ship's exterior, then took shelter inside to begin the system test routines. The planned mission to Elanora had been canceled, replaced with a routine cargo run. But just as Jinya activated the diagnostic panel, his phone lit up with a call. Selena? Hello. His eyes met Nikita's. No, we're still here. Of course, that's great. We'll be waiting. You're serious? The captain asked skeptically. Can you believe it? Jinya grinned. And don't forget, you owe me kefir. With a chuckle, he left the cockpit to tidy up the neutral chamber. 15 minutes later, the mysterious institute graduate appeared once again at the foot of the boarding ramp. A small backpack hung from one shoulder, and in her arms she cradled a pet carrier. Hi. Jinya lowered the ramp and helped her climb aboard. Hi. Selena looked up at the sky. Is this flying weather? Jinya laughed. City folks really can't tell a plane from a spaceship. Doesn't matter to us, he added. Rain or shine, it's all the same to a spacecraft. The weather's nice, that's all. The rain just passed. The air's so fresh. I feel like going for a walk, or at least sitting outside for a bit. Right, Churnish? The cat in the carrier closed its eyes slowly, clearly agreeing. Jinya watched the moment closely and thought he might be witnessing true interspecies communication. Is that how you two talk? Oh no, Selena laughed. That's just how humans have talked to cats since time immemorial. If you want the science, it's here. She pointed to a thick silver ring on her left hand. The interface works through neural transmission, powered by microelectronics inside this device. When activated, I can receive simple answers from the animal and send basic thoughts back. Now I get it. Impressive. It's not the tech that impresses me. It's their reality. The way our pets perceive the world is so unique. It makes you realize how complex and beautiful our universe truly is. I promise you, we'll soon discover new shades of everyday life, thanks to our barking guards and gentle mousers. Selena laughed, opened the carrier, and lifted out a calm, completely black cat. Its honey-colored eyes locked onto the stunned navigator's face. Why is he staring at me like that? He's studying you. Selena tilted her head. Good news, Jinya. According to Chernishik, you're a very good person. Suddenly, the cat's ears flicked toward the ship's intercom speaker. As the annoyed voice of the captain came through. Jinya, where are you? Launch in 5 minutes. 3 hours into the flight, Elanora appeared in the forward viewports as a faint, dull star. As they approached, its dense, dark gray atmosphere grew more distinct, obscuring any sign of the planet's surface. According to probe data, there was no liquid water, just a single massive continent locked in perpetual twilight under an impenetrable sky. Station Eleonora 2B, this is the diver. Requesting permission for circular orbit, Nikita said, then. Sent the telemetry request. Diver, this is Eleonora 2B. Orbit is clear, permission granted. Transmitting parameters now. The monitor displayed the necessary data. Jinya activated the autopilot, which plotted the maneuver and signaled readiness. Nikita confirmed, and the ship began decelerating, pressing the crew back into their seats. Selena, come in. How are you feeling? The commander called up the video feed. All good. Selena sat calmly at her console, a book in hand, and the cat dozing beside her. Feel any GS? Jinya asked. Not a bit. Feels like we never even launched. What? Are you reading? Nikita tried to make out the title. The Call of the Wild. She replied. Oh? Even in space, you don't take a break from work. Nikita checked his watch. We'll reach orbit shortly. Meeting in the cockpit in 10. In 40, we'll be hovering over the South Pole. Understood. I'll be there. Selena ended the call. You read The Call of the Wild? Jinya asked suddenly. Of course. It's standard curriculum. What did you think? Like all of Jack London's work. Magnificent. Maybe she's reading it and feeling a bit envious, Jinya said with a smirk. Of what? London's animals and humans understand each other perfectly. No fancy neural interfaces required. Now's not the time, Jinya. Nikita glanced around. Where did you put the orbital maneuver instructions? And the UMF map? Jinya sighed, stood up, and said with mock calm, Don't panic. I'll get them. Selena entered the cockpit. She was composed, focused, but moved a bit slowly. The three took their places around the table. No tea this time. All right. Nikita spread the paper map out again. We're looking at Sector R12, near the planets. South Pole. I've mentioned it's relatively calm there. But that's no reason to relax. Once we begin descent, we'll have about 5 minutes to make our final decision. Go forward or pull back. Will that be enough, Selena? Yes, she replied evenly. On the simulators, Chernishik learned to distinguish the primary magnetic field from the induced one fairly quickly. I don't expect any problems. Well, I'll be, Jinya muttered. Cats are highly sensitive to magnetic fields, Selena explained. It's their built-in compass. That's how they find their way home. So our furry navigator will remember and distinguish the field patterns even if we hit a bubble on the way down? The captain asked. Exactly, she smiled. All right. We'll stay in contact, Nikita said. Your station is linked to the orientation system. If you can maintain the landing configuration, we'll attempt a descent. I understand. Good. He turned to Jinya. Any questions? None. Then let's do this. The ship fell quiet. The diver entered a 200-kilometer orbit over Elanora, a planet shaped by forces still poorly understood. Its atmosphere was dense and thick with dust particles. Visibility dropped to near zero at 40 kilometers altitude, and that wasn't even the worst of it. The unpredictable turbulence combined with the UMF fields posed a serious risk, but the real prize was underground. The planet's surface, shaped by volcanic activity and intense erosion, was theorized to hold vast natural crystal formations, uncut diamonds, polished over centuries by relentless dust storms. In essence, Elanora might be the largest treasure trove humanity had ever seen. The captain and navigator sat strapped into their stations in light-pressure suits. Selena remained in her flight uniform. The zero-stress chamber had its own independent life support system. Final check. 1 minute. 1 minute confirmed. Jinya brought up the descent diagram. Selena, come in. Receiving. Her image appeared on the monitor. Calm, focused. She studied the orbital telemetry, one hand on the orientation joystick, the other gently scratching the cat behind the ear. If you have doubts, say so now. We can still return. No doubts. Understood, Nikita nodded. Test run. Use your panel to orient the ship. Memorize the current configuration, then restore it after adjustment. Okay. Jinya disabled automatic stabilization. With maneuvering thrusters, he tilted the ship and introduced a slow lateral spin. Nikita gave the signal. Selena, your turn. A few confident movements, and the ship returned to its original position. Perfect. Jinya grinned. That could have been me. Flattering yourself again? Nikita chuckled. All right, that seals it. Engaging braking thrusters. Initiating descent. Thrusters on. Descent initiated. The pilots were pushed forward, held in place by their restraints. Selena felt none of it, only saw the acceleration on her monitors. Chernyshyk rose, stretched, and began grooming his glossy fur. My friend. She looked at him and activated the interface ring. Do you hear me? I hear you. Chernyshy's ears twitched toward her. Then he met her gaze with calm, golden eyes. We're descending. We must hold position. She glanced at the ship's spatial diagram. Understood. The cat sat upright and studied the monitor, where the diver was beginning to show signs of magnetic disorientation. The commander's voice echoed in her earpiece. Selena, we're hovering just above the interference zone. No bubbles yet, but anomalies are present. We go lower only with your full confidence. Understood. We're ready. Confirmed. Jinya, re-engaged the thrusters. Slowly, the ship vanished into Eleonora's dark, gray skies. Bubble, Yevgeny said, pointing to the failing orientation systems. We've got maybe 2 more minutes to trust our senses. And after that, Nikita closed his eyes. Then we'll have to trust the cat, Jinya replied, his words a jarring contrast to the complex instruments surrounding them. Not the cat, Nikita paused. Selena. Oh really? Meanwhile, in the zero chamber, the diver's spatial orientation displays showed the same chaotic data as in the cockpit. Selena took a deep breath, gripped the joystick with both hands, and looked at the cat. Chernish? A moment later, she heard his voice in her thoughts. Yes. Am I holding the right heading? Correct. The pilots silently watched. The scrambled telemetry. When the diver briefly slipped out of the magnetic anomaly's grip, the systems flickered back to life, just long enough to capture current altitude, position, and orientation. Then another bubble hit, and the data vanished again. Jinya, report. Altitude, 20 kilometers. Descent speed nominal. No roll or spin detected. Understood. Nikita felt a weight lift from his chest. He didn't mention the odd sensation of lateral G-force, not wanting to plant the idea in his co-pilot's mind. And rightly so. Illusions were the real enemy. With no visual reference, it became dangerously easy to believe the instruments were lying, that the ship was off course, that disaster could strike at any moment. In the dust-choked skies of Elanora, many pilots had lost their trust in everything. Chernishik? Right. The honey-colored eyes stared intently at the monitor, like this. Correct. A sudden jolt and burst of GS took the pilots by surprise. No data. Are we spinning? Jinya asked. Looks like it. Caught between currents? The commander guessed. Wait. Data came back, briefly. Altitude, 5 kilometers. Rotation, detected. The auto-stabilizers remained off, unable to work with such intermittent telemetry. Nikita called over the comms. Selena, come in. Try correcting the spin. On it. The cat instantly understood. Fixing his gaze on the spinning schematic of the ship, he began issuing mental commands. Toward us. Right. More. Good. Tension grew in the cockpit. With no telemetry and the ship still inside a magnetic bubble, the pilots had only their instincts and fear. It was Jinya who broke the silence. Nick, I get it. The stubbornness. The riches. The kefir. But if we're below 5 clicks and still have no data, maybe that's enough for today? Be specific, the commander demanded. I say it's time to activate the EES. No more gambling. We've already set a record with this descent. Oh, Nikita smirked through the stress. So now the navigator admits the whole cat guidance idea was a pipe dream? We've had no luck, Nick. Jinya shifted in his seat. One bubble after another. 5 minutes of blackout. And you thought reaching a treasure vault would be easy? You wanted this. Let's try again another day. This isn't funny anymore, Commander. Listen, Nikita turned to his friend. I'm just as scared of crashing as you are. I'm fighting those phantom feelings too. But right now, in that zero chamber, there's a fragile young woman who values her life as much as we do. Why hasn't she given up? Maybe she doesn't understand the risk. I say she does. Nikita's voice hardened. Give it 1 more minute. We've still got time. The emergency system is active. It'll pull us out if needed. Deal. Deal. The commander's hand moved toward the EES switch. His fingers hovered just above the toggle. Jinya watched, tense, still fighting the urge to activate it himself. He wasn't a coward, but risking their lives over some glittering rocks? No. Wait out. A moment later, the telemetry returned. The diver was just 2 kilometers from the surface. Orientation was within landing parameters. Descent speed normal. Panic merchant. Nikita grinned and slapped his friend on the shoulder. Shut up. Jinya chuckled, finally relaxing. Not to jinx it, but I'd bet the bubbles don't reach below 1 kilometer. Perfect. That means our fluffy co-pilot won't need to land the ship. Selena, status? All good, she answered with a smile, nerves still lingering in the corners of her lips. Touchdown coming up. If there are no more magnetic surges, we land as planned. Either way, we'll get visual orientation near the surface. Got it. The captain was starting to like her voice, calm and steady, but with a gentle, lyrical tone. There was something unusual about her, something hidden beneath the surface, like Elanora itself. Was it courage, the kind no one sees? Or an insatiable drive to discover the unknown? Jinya, lights. The navigator activated the landing beams. Something below reflected the light in a cascade of sparkles. That's the surface, Nick. Yep, buddy. Our turn now. Manual control passed fully to the pilots. The closer the ship got to the source of the shimmer, the more accurate the readings became. Orientation, stable. Descent rate, optimal, 50 meters. Deploy landing. Gear down. Jinya eased the throttle. The dense dust haze thinned, revealing a rugged, uneven terrain. Boulders everywhere, Commander. Looks like a plateau. The lower they descended, the more dazzling the view. Thousands of diamonds scattered across the highland surface reflected the lights back into the cockpit in a breathtaking display. Unreal. Focus, Jinya. No. Roll. Descent speed under 0.2 meters per second. 5 meters. Configuration stable. Landing. The spacecraft touched down gently. The engines rumbled for another minute before falling silent. The diver settled quietly onto its landing legs. The diver, now loaded with diamonds, returned safely to the spaceport. A dense crowd of locals, scientists, and reporters encircled the landing bay, eager to catch a glimpse of the priceless haul. From ELEONORA, that's that. The commander powered down the systems and removed his headset. That's what? Jinya looked at him skeptically. This is just the beginning. Now we live. You're not wrong. Damn right. Let's get a new ship. No. Better. A carrier station in orbit. We'll park 10 divers there with a full crew. Imagine it. And then what? Nikita got up and walked toward the ramp, where Selena was waiting with her bag and the carrier. What do you mean then what? You dreaming bigger than me now? Nikita approached the hatch control and activated the ramp. As the platform lowered, he watched Selena closely. She looked like someone waiting for a commuter bus, calm, collected, eager to get home from a long day. Selena, you okay? He reached for her bag, offering help. I'm fine. Thanks. It's not heavy, I've got it. At that moment, cheers erupted beyond the half-open ramp. Oh, a crowd. For us? Not bad. Jinya appeared, grinning. That's not for us. Nikita thought quietly. Selena, called a reporter. How did it feel to be the first to encounter this hidden treasure? Thrilling, she smiled. Especially when the treasure first said meow. Laughter spread through the crowd, followed by more questions about her furry co-pilot's role in the landing. Nikita stood slightly apart, eyes fixed on her. She's funny, Jinya said beside him. Then, after a pause, I don't think she cares about the diamonds. Not even the sparkle. You know, neither do I, Nikita replied. Rocks. Aren't that interesting? Ooh, Jinya nudged him playfully. Sounds like my friend found a real treasure after all. Maybe. The commander replied with a shy, boyish grin.